Welcome to the Humane Mind. I'm doing this video sans mask because this is an issue that I'm personally involved in and not just an overall topic. Over the last few days, I've been involved in what I would consider a debate over moral principle. Yet many people on Twitter and YouTube, some of whom I follow and subscribe to, have said things along the lines of I've been virtue signaling, or that I'm using the guilt by association fallacy, or that I am doing all of this to stir up drama in order to get attention. I am making this video to set the record straight. In this video, I'm only going to highlight the main events over the last few days. I plan on making a more in-depth video in order to establish the foundations of some of the things I say. So it may seem as if some of the things that I say in this video are completely unfounded, but I assure you there is a valid rationale behind everything I'm going to say. I'm just going to cut out some of the foundation work for brevity's sake. Expect all of that in the longer video. So on August 3rd, 2017, @_ToxicFem put out a tweet talking about virginity, and Loudmouth Reviews responded to it. In his response, he made reference to a video that was a collaboration between Bering and AIU. Now, I have linked that video in this description because it is a source, and yet I know there are some idiots out there who will say that because I linked to that, I am refuting some of my own points because they don't understand the nuance of this. So I responded to Loudmouth with this: to be fair, the dude they were mocking was a weirdo, but the mocking the virgin aspect of his video seemed off to me. Yes, I understand that sentence is not grammatically correct, but this is Twitter and I was on my phone. Anyway, even though Loudmouth was referring to AIU as a doxer, I was dismissing this as mere hearsay. So pay attention to my next response because this is key to my assessment of what other people have said as they're joining the conversation later. AIU was actually in my stream with the Warskis. Should I be likewise crucified for having an association with him, or should they? Loudmouth persisted by calling AIU dangerous, and again, note my response. That sounds kind of like the left bashing Roaming for having Spencer on her channel. I'm not sure about his doxing issue, and I think he is wrong on a lot of issues, but I don't think he should be treated like a leper. Got an objective source explaining the doxing situation. Now, I had to lay all that foundation out because I know that some other people have had the same reaction when brought in after the fact. So I can understand where they're coming from. So my objection is not to those people. My objection is to the people who have seen the evidence and bury their head in the sand or don't take responsibility as if it's not something that they should do something about, or the people who outright make excuses for it. So after asking for evidence, Loudmouth presented me with that evidence in the form of 3 separate videos which are linked in the description. While there is a preponderance of evidence as to the corrupt character of AIU, nothing is more condemning in my mind than his own confession to having done these things.
There's like 4 people that I can think of whose names I've revealed. The second you cross me, the second you have an ill word, the second you hit the dislike button, I will find your name with my new MIT Harvard hacking genius friend, and I will reveal it to the world. Your name.
Your nickname is You have just been true doxed, because this is not the year of the ox, it's the year of the dox.
And these are not audio clips taken out of context. Even in the full context of the videos, it is clear that he is openly admitting to doxing and says that he is not going to stop. After viewing all that evidence, I cannot for the life of me understand why anybody would willingly associate with this person. So after witnessing the evidence for myself of how despicable a person AIU actually is, I tagged Bering and his girlfriend into the conversation to see if they knew of all of this before Bering decided to do this collaboration. I never got a response to that, and out of this entire event, I've only gotten 2 responses from Bering, and both of them have been very dismissive and condescending. I looked to the actual collaboration video itself to see if Bering was aware of this, and it's right there at the end where he says it's boxing kangaroo with a B. Now I have to clarify here because so many people have taken me out of context. It's not the fact that he made a joke about it. It's the fact that Bering has gone on a tirade before against people for doxing. You cannot criticize other people for taking an action just because they're on the other side politically. But then when someone's on your side politically, just kind of dismiss it and sweep it under the rug or treat it as something that isn't equally as severe. If it's bad for them to do, it's bad for anyone to do. And I have to clarify this point. This is my primary contention, is that someone is showing a hypocritical stance, and that is something I cannot support. I am not accusing Bering of being endorsing of doxing. I am accusing him of not being consistent in his moral standards. He's using those standards against other people and then not applying them to himself and his friends. And that is my primary contention with Bering, is the inconsistency in how he applies moral values. And as far as AIU is concerned, doxing is abhorrent because it violates the right to freedom of speech and the right to privacy. Now, when other people are bringing up guilt by association when it comes to this, they keep talking about opinions and ideas. Well, opinions and ideas are words. Doxing crosses that line into action. Because doxing violates others' privacy and it is an attempt to violate their freedom of speech, it crosses a line from speech to action. Now, when it comes to justice, it is immoral if we were to imprison someone based on their words, their thoughts, and their opinions. But it is perfectly within the realm of morality to jail people based on their actions if those actions are immoral. Doxing is such an immoral action, and thankfully there is legislation in the works to make it a federal offense to dox someone. Unfortunately, to the best of my knowledge, AIU is not within the United States. So after this realization that Bering did know, I sent this message to him on Patreon. I have not received a response to it, nor do I expect a response to it. So prior to this entire incident, I may have seen one or two of AIU's videos. So even someone like me, who does not follow AIU, has seen very little of his actual content. I knew his full name. However, I have redacted his name in this message because there's so many pseudo-intellectuals out there that are just this side of retarded who will try to use that and say that I am doxing AIU. It's like walking through a minefield to get past their mind-numbing efforts to dismiss my arguments by using red herrings, false analogies, and saying that I am on a witch hunt. So Loudmouth set up a stream with me, the Objective Realist, and some others to discuss the issue. Now, the Objective Realist is one of AIU's victims. So even though the video is several hours long, the main bulk of the content is only in the first hour. After that, we circle back to the same arguments and maybe elaborate on them a little bit more, and then we do get sidetracked a bit at the end. But the main reason the stream went so long is that Loudmouth was hoping that Bering would eventually show up. So after several days of Loudmouth and I trying to contact Bering to get his perspective on this sort of thing, Bering does finally respond to Loudmouth with this. Bering's tweet reads, "Loudmouth, really, you're going after my income because I made a video with someone you don't like. That's pathetic. SJW 101. Someone you don't like. The guy in front of me who won't leave when the light turns green and delays me for an entire cycle of the traffic lights. That's someone I don't like. The lady who's talking on her cell phone and ends up running over my foot with her grocery cart. That's someone I don't like. AIU is actively trying to ruin people's lives."
You say yourself right here, you and your name will be destroyed. That's the plan, kid. Here, you are saying you can't wait for potential girlfriends and employers to look him up.
That's not someone you just don't like. To be fair, Bering's assessment of the situation is probably tainted by Loudmouth's insistence on going full retard here.
You went full retard, man. Never go full retard.
But as you can see from the chain of events in the original tweets, he didn't even know that I was a patron for Bering. So his initial intent was not to get me to stop supporting Bering. And Bering, you cannot blame Loudmouth for your loss of income. That is entirely on you and your duplicitous actions in this event. Bering, I understand your initial reaction to this. You were on the defensive. You thought someone was coming after your livelihood, and so you fought tooth and nail. And unfortunately, that hurt you even more in your debate with Loudmouth. My objections to your arguments in that debate are in the comments section, and you have yet to reply to any of them. But my primary objection was this.
Oh, there's Devin doxing someone in the chat.
Yeah, oh my God, he's doing it again.
That proved in my mind that Bering does not hold the same standards for himself and his friends as he does for everyone else. And that just adds another layer of hypocrisy, as he was making that exact same complaint about another YouTuber just a few days prior.
And you seem to be right on board with most of the ridiculous double standards spouted by the SJWs, like inventing your own rules and being way too oversensitive when it comes to harassment directed at you and your pals, and way too undersensitive when it comes to harassment directed at anyone from your pals.
As for our motivations behind all of this, I can 100% assure you that my motivation was not about attention for myself. My purpose is to put the attention on the hypocrisy that is rising up amongst those of us who are on the right, and I see this as a huge problem for everything we're trying to do in the battle of ideas. As for Loudmouth, his deliveries are not always well thought out, and he's a little prone to hyperbole. That doesn't mean that he is just after attention. And I know Loudmouth mentioned a possible increase in viewership because of the stream, but we were viewing that more as a silver lining to the fact that we had to devote time and attention and put people's focus on the horrible D-bag that AIU is. I understand that I may have a bias in my perception on these events because I've talked to Loudmouth before, during, and after these events. However, I also understand that the other side has their own bias because these are the people who follow Bearing, these are the people who interact with Bearing, these are the people who know Bearing much better than I. And they will come into this with that bias and look at a piece of the evidence or a piece of the events, and they will make a determination on the spot based on that. They won't give this the full due process that it needs. And I mentioned due process because Bearing specifically mentioned that in his debate with Loudmouth. But what Bearing failed to consider is that due process is thrown out the window when the person confesses.
There's like 4 people that I can think of whose names I've revealed. And these 4 people made videos against me calling me a racist.
My hope with this video is that someone with a bias neither one way nor the other will look at all the evidence that I have presented here, and they will objectively come to the same conclusion that I have. In closing, anyone who would criticize SJWs, the left, Black Lives Matter, Islam, anything like that needs to be consistent because all of these ideologies seem to be working in tandem to destroy everything that is good and replace it with death and destruction. And when it comes to someone like AIU, who is actively trying to destroy people's lives, well, he is part of those things that we're supposed to be fighting. And it is not enough just to simply not endorse what he is doing. It's not enough to be indifferent to what he's doing. We need to point to him as the bad example. Don't be like that guy. And in a quote often attributed to Sir Edmund Burke, all that is necessary for the triumph of evil is that good men do nothing.